Welcome back to Full Court Femmes Red Storm Report, where we don't just look at tomorrow's game.
We break down why it matters, what actually changed, and who needs to execute.
Today, we shift from patience on the road to physicality at the Garden.
Because next up, Seton Hall at MSG.
And I'm going to triple check all of the schedules because the Villanova game threw us for a loop. One schedule said the Finn, the other said Xfinity Mobile Arena. It definitely was played in Philly, not at the Finn like we originally suggested.
But make no mistake, St. John's treated it like a Finn environment, hostile and unforgiving.
Final score, St. John's 86, Villanova 79. This was a quad one win, a road victory over a ranked Big East opponent that bolsters the resume. And this was the fourth Johnny's win since that devastating loss to Providence.
Patino has moved into a new lineup since that Providence game, and it shows. The new front court trio was the reason why. Jackson, Ejiofor, and Hopkins combined for 55 points.
And Hopkins in particular has started to play the game we all expected. He had 20 points, he attacked the paint, finished through contact, and showed real defensive presence.
And Jackson was a star with 18 points of his own.
He was. And the interesting part is that the Red Storm kept Bryce Lindsay and Duke Brennan quiet, limiting their influence inside. They did allow Tyler Perkins 23 points and Devin Askew 21 points, and yet the Johnnies still won.
St. John's capitalized on 14 Villanova turnovers, turning them into a 17-6 advantage in points off turnovers, a huge edge.
It was a big win for the Johnnies and a statement to the league that they are clearly in the hunt for a tournament bid. Now let's see how that lines up with our predictions. We've broken down the win, the shot making, and the control moments.
Now it's time to do what we always do, Erin, hold the board accountable.
All right, so before we do that, let's give a quick update before we grade how we did.
Some predictions don't land cleanly as a win or a loss.
No, sometimes the numbers do hit exactly in the middle.
So we're officially adding a third category, push. Neither bold nor busted, just dead even. Let's see what you think. Bold prediction number 1, St. John's records more assists than Villanova.
This was a bet on connection.
Push. It was a dead tie. Each team had 13 assists.
St. John's shared it. Villanova shared it. Nobody won the assist line. And that is exactly what a push is for.
Bold prediction number 2, St. John's scores at least 36 points in the paint.
This was discipline breaking discipline.
Bold. St. John's dropped 42 points in the paint.
That's how you win a control game. Downhill finishes, real paint touches, no settling.
Bold prediction number 3, Villanova is held under 10 second chance points.
All right, so this one might be a little controversial when we grade it.
Bold. Yet some may say we are owning it on a technicality. Villanova finished with a 10 second chance points, not under.
All right, so next time we'll simply say 10 or under.
Bold prediction number 4, St. John's bench outscores Villanova bench.
This was depth versus patience.
Busted. Bench points for St. John's 12, Villanova 29.
And I swear most of those came from Devin Askew with 21 points. St. John's won anyhow, but that bench margin is real and one we cannot forget. It's a note they must carry forward.
Bold prediction number 5, St. John's wins at least one 3-minute scoring drought with a 6-0 run.
That's easy for you to say, Caroline. This one is about timing.
Bold and
Woo-hoo!
not subtle. Villanova scored at 17:06 to make it 43-39, then didn't score again until 13:53, a 3-minute, 13-second drought.
I got excited because I wanted to know what happened in that window.
St. John's ripped off a 13-0 run, Erin, and that's not just winning a drought, that's breaking the game open.
All right, so let's grade it. The final card, 3 bold, 1 busted, and 1 push.
And the story inside it is this. St. John's didn't win because everything went right.
No, they won because when Villanova went quiet, St. John's went on the attack. All right, board graded.
Now let's get back to the prediction that doesn't care about technicalities.
Just the number.
That's Annie calls the score.
Woohoo! All right, we're in it. Annie predicted 73-72.
Actual final, 86-79.
All right, so that's a miss, but it is one worth unpacking.
Annie saw the tightness, the pressure, the decision points.
What she underestimated was how decisively St. John's would control those moments.
That's not a bad miss. That's a statement win.
Yes, it is. All right, so let's zoom out because this weekend finally gave the league some shape.
At the top, nothing changes. UConn Huskies stay perfect at 8-0, but it wasn't easy. A 64-62 grinded out win over Georgetown reminded everyone that even the best don't get margin for free.
And behind them, the logjam finally broke open.
Coming into the weekend, several teams were tied for second. Coming out of it, clear separation.
Our St. John's Red Storm now sits firmly in second place at 6-1 in conference after that big win over Villanova.
That matters, Erin. This isn't theoretical anymore. St. John's has earned that position with its road wins and control games.
And right behind them, not surprisingly, is the Villanova Wildcats, who dropped to number 3 at 5-2 after their loss to St. John's.
Creighton Blue Jays slide into fourth at 5-3, staying right in the mix, but without margin for mistakes.
And then there's the biggest mover of the weekend, the shock and awe.
Seton Hall Pirates fall to fifth, now 4-3 in league play after the loss to Butler. That loss snapped the tie and reshuffled the middle of the board.
This weekend was proof that Big East teams can't be underestimated, even if they sit in that 6-11 position in the league. So here's the truth of the league right now.
UConn is alone.
St. John's is no longer chasing, they're being chased.
And everything from third through fifth is separated by a single game and zero margin, which is why what happens next, especially at the Garden, matters immediately.
Seton Hall's season arc matters here because it explains both the respect they earned and why this game still comes with danger.
This is a team that climbed into the top 25 not because they were pretty, but because they were consistent, physical, and hard to move.
After the worst season in program history and being picked dead last in the Big East preseason poll, Seton Hall rebuilt their identity around toughness. They defended, rebounded, and made games uncomfortable.
That formula carried them into the national conversation after a close loss to UConn. And now, after the Saturday loss to Butler, it almost certainly will push them back out of the AP ratings.
But here's the important part. Falling out of the poll doesn't change who they are.
Seton Hall doesn't play chaos basketball like Marquette.
And they certainly don't play patience basketball like Villanova.
They play collision basketball.
This is a straight-line physical team. They want contact on every cut, every drive, every rebound.
They're comfortable grinding games into the 60s and low 70s. They shorten possessions by forcing you to play through bodies instead of space.
And against Butler, even in the loss, you saw it. Seton Hall didn't fold. They battled on the glass. They lived in traffic and tried to drag the game into the mud.
That's very different from Villanova, who stretches you horizontally and asks you to guard movement.
And Seton Hall will ask the Johnnies one question. How much contact can you absorb without losing shape?
And this is where St. John's current lineup evolution matters.
We're now seeing this consistent starting group with 3 true bigs, forwards and centers who can rebound, switch, and still finish in space.
This isn't just a look, Erin. It's a response.
And against physical teams, St. John's is no longer trying to finesse its way through contact.
They're matching it, and they're using skill to break it.
That size lets them control the glass, not the grass. They wall up defensively and still generate paint touches without relying on whistles.
Against Seton Hall, that matters more than pace or shooting variance.
Because when games get physical like this,
they stop being about schemes.
And they become about who can impose themselves possession after possession.
And for Seton Hall, 2 players determine whether that physicality turns into points or noise.
All right, so let's start with A.J. Staten-McCray. He's known as the shot maker who keeps them alive. Because when Seton Hall needs a bucket, this is always where they look.
Against Butler on January 17th, Staten-McCray led the way with 17 points, scoring in traffic and late clock situations when possessions broke down.
And that's the key. He's not a volume shooter hunting rhythm. He's a problem solver.
You saw the same thing against UConn on January 13th. In a game that slowed to a crawl, Staten-McCray was one of the few Pirates who could generate a look without help. Mid-range pull-ups, tough finishes, contested jumpers.
That matters against St. John's because he's comfortable playing through contact. You can't just contest, you have to finish the possession.
If Staten-McCray starts shooting through bodies early, Seton Hall gets belief. If he's forced into tough, inefficient volume, their offense gets very thin, very fast.
And then there's the possession extender, Najai Hines, a freshman who is 6'10", 265 pounds. He's a big boy. His impact shows up where Seton Hall lives, and that's on the glass. He will be a force to manage for senior Zuby Ejiofor, who is really just shy of Hines' size. Zuby's maturity will be very important in this game.
Against Butler, Hines put together a monster effort. 11 points and 16 rebounds. That's not accidental production. That's identity basketball.
And against UConn, even in a low-scoring physical game, Hines was central to Seton Hall staying connected. 5 offensive rebounds, loose ball wins, second chances, the stuff that keeps games close even when shots don't fall.
Hines doesn't need touches drawn up for him. He creates value by extending possessions and wearing down the front court.
Which is why he's such a critical matchup for St. John's current 3-big lineup. You can't just guard the first action, you have to simply end it. When you understand what Staten McCray and Hines brings to the floor, the keys for St. John's change again.
This isn't about patience. It's about surviving contact without losing structure. Let's lay them out. Key number 1, end possessions on the first miss.
This is the Najai-Hines test.
Seton Hall stays alive by extending possessions. Offensive rebounds, tip-outs, loose balls that turn into second chances.
St. John's 3-big lineup exists for this exact reason. One shot has to mean simply one stop.
Key number 2, make Staten McCray a volume scorer, not an efficient one. You're not shutting him out.
No, you're forcing him to work for everything. Contested twos, tough pull-ups, no rhythm looks.
If Staten McCray has to take 18 shots to get 17 points, Seton Hall's offense thins out fast. Key number 3, score through contact, not after the whistle.
Seton Hall wants this game to be played in traffic.
St. John's can't rely on calls. They have to finish through bodies, especially early, to set the tone.
Paint finishes matter more than free throw volume in this matchup. All right, key number 4, win the first 5 minutes of each half.
Seton Hall feeds off early belief.
And if you let them land the first punch, couple offensive boards here, a tough bucket there, the game turns into a grind immediately.
Quick, composed starts force them to chase instead of impose. Key number 5, keeping the game organized when it gets ugly.
Because it will get ugly.
Loose balls, missed shots, scramble possession. Villanova tested patience. Seton Hall tests how long you're willing to stay in a fight.
So the board has to change. And if the reads are right, they should show up in the numbers.
Which means it's time to put Seton Hall on the board, Erin.
Let's go! This is bold or busted.
Bold prediction number 1, St. John's attempts at least 22 free throws.
This is about embracing contact, not avoiding it.
Seton Hall plays through bodies. If St. John's is the aggressor, the whistle should follow.
22 attempts means St. John's didn't shy away from traffic. They attacked it. Okay, bold prediction number 2. Seton Hall shoots under 42% from the field.
Seton Hall isn't a clean shot team.
When forced into half-court offense without second chances, their efficiency drops fast.
Okay, bold prediction number 3. St. John's records more offensive rebounds than Seton Hall.
This flips the script.
Seton Hall usually owns this category, Erin. If St. John's wins it, that's a physical statement.
Bold prediction number 4. Seton Hall commits 15 or more turnovers.
This isn't pressure-based like Marquette.
No, it's fatigue-based. Contact wears you down. Decisions get late. Handles get loose.
Bold prediction number 5. St. John's wins the last 4 minutes by 6 or more.
And at 6 or more close means that St. John's didn't just survive the grind, they finished it.
If the Johnnies do this, if they rebound, finish through contact, and keep structure,
we know that the Garden favors the prepared team.
All right, this one feels different.
Yes, it does. This isn't about patience or shot selection.
It's about whether you're willing to get hit, rebound through bodies, and keep structure anyway.
Which means, Caroline, it's time.
This is Annie Calls the Score.
All right. Annie believes this game is going to be loud, messy, and physical from the opening tip.
That tracks for Seton Hall.
They're going to crash the glass, bump cutters, and test how long St. John's wants to live in contact, especially early.
And the Garden turns that up.
Exactly. Now, before I give this number, I'll say this. The score itself is never the point, even though we'd love for Annie to be exact.
It's about who wins and what the margin feels like.
This is about outcome and spread, not chasing a perfect box score. But we will gloat, I promise you that, if Annie hits it exactly.
All right, Erin, where does it land?
Drum roll, please. Okay, final score, John's 80, Seton Hall 66.
That's a 14-point spread.
I know, which is exactly what you want in January against a team who just showed up in the top 25.
After this one, the Red Storm hit the road again to face the Xavier Musketeers on January 24th, coached by Richard Pitino, Rick's son.
That sets up a Pitino father-son matchup that's as much about coaching identity as it is about plays, execution, and family.
Expect tactical duels, screens and spacing battles, and adjustment in every quarter.
That's what we want on the road ahead. It's not going to slow down.
which means if you want to understand why these games turn the way they do,
You stay with the details.
and you stay with us. Make sure you subscribe to Full Court Femmes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube.
We've still got January's gauntlet ahead, and the Red Storm are right in the mix.
No hype, all hoops.
Let's go,
Let's go,
Johnnies.
Johnnies.